Hi guys, welcome back, and this is the seventh video of the JavaScript series. And today we're going to take a deep dive into numbers in JavaScript. So let me show you something here. So open up your JS Fiddle, and we'll write some code in the JavaScript side of the JS Fiddle window. So let's say where x is equal to, and here I'll say document.write x, and I'll show you a couple of values for x. Now let's say x is 9, but you have to write 9 15 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Right. So it's going to say 9 15 times, right? And but if I say 9 one more time, it's going to say 1 0 0 0 0. That's because JavaScript numbers or integers, they work well till the place of 15. But after that, like if it's more than 15, if it's 16 or 17, they start you can say misbehaving, or they start not working correctly. And so you should not try and solve or do like really big calculations in JavaScript. So there are other things that you can use for bigger calculations. Like let's say if you're using a database like MongoDB, so make sure you do all the calculations there using aggregation functions, and instead of doing it in JavaScript or in your Node.js. And if you're using React.js in your front end, then obviously you know that in front end you should not be doing a lot of calculations anyways, right? So try not to do calculations for digits that have more than 15 numbers that have more than 15 digits. That's something that we need to point out to you. And there's also an issue with floats. So let me show you a calculation with floats. Plus 0.2, it should be 0.3, right? But it's not 0.3, it's 0.3 and a lot of zeros and then 4. That's because floats, the calculation with floats doesn't, they don't work really well in JavaScript. So you have to be aware that while calculating anything that has JavaScript, um, that has floats in JavaScript, you have to be really careful. As in try to avoid it, or if you want to do it, then this is the way to do it. So you will multiply the first value into 10. You'll multiply the second value into 10. That this becomes an integer, which is 1. This also becomes a normal integer, which is 2. And then you divide by 10. And then you get the real value, 0.3. Right? So this is a way around this problem. And then let me show you a couple of operations. So like let's say where x is 10 and where y is 100. Now I'll say where z is equal to x plus y, and I'll say document that right z. You know what's going to happen here is going to say 10 and 100, right? Because these are both strings, these are not numbers. Actually, let me change the values. I'll say 100 here, 10 here. But if I say x minus y, it works. It says 90. The reason why this was not working with plus is because plus is an operator that JavaScript uses to concatenate strings, but minus is not something like that, right? So if you're using minus, then JavaScript tries to convert 100 into an integer and 10 also into an integer, and it knows that this is represented in a string, but it can be converted into an integer, so it does that. And so this works pretty well with x divided by y as well. It works with x multiplied by y as well. The only place it doesn't work is with x plus y. We'll say 110. So I hope that's clear. And now let's say if this is 10, 100, which is an integer, which is a number, and this is a string. So this will again not convert this into integer. This will convert this into string instead. I've shown you this in one of the previous videos as well. Now, one place where you can get slightly confused. Let's say these two are numbers, and I say the result is, I'll say plus. Now, it's very easy to think that the answer here would be the result is either the answer could be 110, right? Because you'd think that JavaScript would add up these two numbers and then it'll show you like this. But the problem here is that this is a string, so it's going to treat both of these as strings as well, and it's going to add up, concatenate all of these. So it's going to say result is 110, 110, not 110, right? So that's what it's going to do. This is a very common mistake that you can make, by the way. So another place there where you can get stuck is, let's say z equal to 30. Now I'm pointing out all these things to you because you will make mistakes here as you move on into your journey as a JavaScript developer. So this is something that is very important to understand. So it's x plus y plus z. I'll say document.write result. What do you think should happen here? It's going to not be 110 and 30. It's going to be 110 and 30 because it's going to add up these two numbers and then it's going to add concatenate 30. Why it's like this is because the JavaScript compiler works from left to right. So it sees x, which is a number in the left, y, it's a number on the here on the right of x, which will be, and then it'll add both of these things, which is 110, and then it goes to z, which is basically a string, and then it converts this into a string and then adds concatenates this to it, and it becomes 110 30 instead of being 110 and 30. So I hope this is also clear to you. It's quite confusing, but it's also very, very important to understand how this works. And then now we look at something which is called as NaN, which is not a number. So let me show you an example here. Just a second. X is equal to 100 divided by apple. Say NaN, so it says NaN, right? You can also check. No, why this happens is because you're trying to divide 100, which is a number, with something that is not a number, which is a string. So the value that you get out of this operation is not a number, right? And so you can also check for not a number. You have to be careful. These are two capital N's and there's a small a in between. Let's say x here, and then this should give you true because x is not a number. And the important thing to remember here is if you divide 100 by a string which is 10, not apple, but 10, and then you just print the value of x, it gives you 10. This is surprising, right? If you're saying apple, which is a string, it was giving you NaN, but if you're saying 10, which is also a string, it's giving you 10. It's because 10 being a string, but JavaScript knows that this is a number that is stored as a string. So it tries to convert this into a number and then tries to perform this operation. So this is also another problem area that many people get stuck or get confused at. So I've shown it to you now so that when you're actually working with real examples, you don't get stuck. And let's say x is NaN, not a number, and var y is equal to 5 and z is equal to x plus y, and print the value of z. It says NaN. So anything you add to an NaN, it becomes NaN, not number. Now the interesting thing here is if you say was the type of NaN, it says number. So it is not a number, the value is not number NaN, but the type of this value is a number. So you need to remember that also. And these are slightly confusing things, like I said, but once you understand how these things work, you'll be able to get your way around it. And now I've shown you this example because while debugging, you may put these kind of conditions, right? That if you want to check the type of the value that you're getting from an API or you're getting from an object or something like that, uh, this won't work as a valid check because the type of nan is number. So you won't be able to come to know if the value is nan or not. So you'll have to check by is equal to nan, right? So you'll understand that as we progress, basically. Now let's see what an infinity number looks like. So let's say var x is equal to 2 divided by 0, and let's document.write x says infinity. And now let's see what is the type of infinity. It says number, so infinity is also a number. Now if you were to divide, obviously if you know basic maths, you know that even if you divide minus 2 by 0, it becomes minus infinity, right? So you can also check the type of minus infinity, say number again. Now let's look at some hexadecimals. So var x equal to 0 x ff. Let's try and print x. It will give us the value of 255 because this is how 255 is represented in hexadecimals. X dot. Show you something else. String base of 10. Let's say x is 32 and I'm going to write y. So now I'll show you how 32 looks as the base if we keep changing the base of 32. Right. So for the base of 10, it looks as 32 because that's the numbers that we use, the number system that we use, the base of 10. If we say base of 32, it'll give us 10. If we say base of 16, it'll give us 20. If we say base of 8, so that you've seen hexadecimal numbers and octadecimal numbers, you can easily convert it like this, basically. And decimal numbers, as you saw, that it's basically the base of 10, which you usually use. And now let me show you something more here. Where x equal to 2. Okay. Is equal to, sorry, 123. And I'll say document write x equal to y. Now the value of x and the value of y is 123. Both values are 123, so it says true. But if I use triple equal to, if you'd seen my last video where I'd equated strings like this, you know that triple is equal to is used to check where if the if both the value and the type of x and y are same. It says false. This is because when you define a number like this in JavaScript, it actually becomes an object. So y is actually an object with the value of 123. So let me prove it to you. Right, type of y. It's an object. But if I say x, it will give me number. So this is why when we say x triple is equal to y, it does not work. Right? It says false. So I've shown you this for strings also, and this is completely equal to a complete equivalent, the same in numbers as well. Now let me show you one more thing that I've shown you with strings, which is basically if I say if var new number 123 and I'll say x is equal to y, 2 times is equal to y, then both the values is 123, right? So it should be equal, it should say true, but it says false. That is because when you define two objects even with the same value, they actually become two different objects. So even if the type is the same, their values is completely different. They're two different objects, so you can't have x is equal to y, you won't be able to compare them. So that's why it says false. So that was it for this session with numbers. I hope things are clear. If you have any doubts, if you have any issues or doubts or questions, you can put them in the comments box, and I'll get back to you ASAP. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next video, where we'll be looking at comparison operators. And thank you for watching. If you like the video, do subscribe. Thank you.